Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on Monday, June 27th, 2016. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for the English edition of Aura News, where we bring you today's local top stories translated into English every weeknight. After Britain's decision to leave the European Union, the Albanian politicians have seemed pessimistic, concerned that Albania's membership into the EU will be difficult, with enlargement no longer being Brussels' priority. For at least a year, the EU's high-level meetings will be dominated by Britain's referendum, and for this reason, the Albanian foreign minister and the chairwoman of the Foreign Commission declared that Albania must realize its reforms in time. The Democrat MP Bumsi was more direct in his stance. An agreement between the parties is needed. Brexit and the elections in the US diminish our partners' attention to us, so we should avoid crisis and reach an agreement, declared the Democrat MP. Joining the EU after Brexit will be more difficult. Realizing reforms now is the only secure path towards the EU, declared the chairwoman. The Council of Integration also discussed the Conference of Paris, where the projects for the Western Balkans will be discussed. The U.S. Ambassador Donald Liu made an appeal to the younger generation of Albania for the judicial reform. Albanians often ask me what the best and worst parts of my job are. The answer is easy. The best part of my job is meeting with the bright young students. The worst part of my job is experiencing Albanian politics up close. Maybe the students can help the politicians in this. Many intelligent people have worked on the judicial reform for almost 2 years. The majority and opposition have agreed on everything except for one last detail: the opposition's demand for reserved seats. How would a young student suggest we solve this problem? It's simple. Any kid would tell you that both sides should stop insulting each other and calling each other bad names. They should sit down like adults and resolve the issues through compromise. It's true that Mr. Rama and Mr. Basha tried to do this on June 6th. They failed to reach an agreement. 3 times since May 4th, the United States and the European Union offered reasonable compromise proposals. The majority accepted these proposals. Mr. Basha always found something to reject. I think the Albanian people are tired of their politicians playing games. If the opposition and government want to make a deal, we have offered 3 compromise solutions that are fully consistent with paragraphs 61 and 88 of the Venice Commission final opinion. Politicians don't need to take our ideas and suggestions, but they do need to find a compromise. On the other hand, perhaps Albania's political party leaders are afraid of this reform and are not ready to make any agreement. In that case, I ask the individual members of parliament to take the responsibility to vote in favor of this reform. The vote is scheduled for July 21st. It's time to decide. Every political party leader, every member of parliament, and every young person knows that the people of Albania overwhelmingly support judicial reform. Who are these political party leaders to tell the Albanian people that they cannot have this reform? I have a request for the younger generation of Albanians. I ask all of you to tell your elected leaders that you want this reform. Write a letter, post to social media, talk with your friends. The July 21st vote will determine the direction of this country. Let your leaders know that you want to grow up in a country free from corrupt judges and prosecutors. Tell them you want in Albania to be a democracy where your voices will be heard and you will be treated fairly and with respect. The Socialist Movement for Integration Parliamentary Group excluded the MP Spahiu from the SMI. The decision was made after his words for the justice reform. The MP spoke against vetting by internationals. The vice leader of the SMI, Petrit Vasili, declared that the stance of MP Spahiu was personal and that the SMI had a unified stance on the reform. The Socialist Movement for Integration Parliamentary Group decided to exclude the SMI Parliamentary Group member due to repeated personal standpoints which were not in accordance with the decisions of the SMI's parliamentary group. Spahiu's latest opinion on the judicial reform was considered to be personal, wrong, hasty, and in complete contradiction with the SMI's position for justice reform. The SMI considers the justice reform to be of extraordinary importance, not only for the strengthening of the rule of law and progression into the EU, but also as an issue directly related to strengthening national security, the stability of the country, and as a factor of stability in the region. The SMI will continue to consistently work for the adoption of the judicial reform in a transparent and constructive way according to Venice standards, Vasily declared. Meanwhile, the SMI MP Spahiu reacted to the decision. In a posting on Twitter, the MP warned that he will not vote on the judicial reform if it provides that the vetting process will be headed by the internationals. The Socialist MP Mimosa Hafizi announced an initiative today proposing that the president should be elected by the people. The Socialist MP said that having the president elected by the people would make him dignified to exert his duty and would make him politically independent. Mr. Hafizi presented a list containing 10 names of MPs from both the left and right wings who support a constitutional amendment that would allow the president to be elected by the people. A president elected by the people and not by parliament would be independent of politics and would be a figure of unification for the people in their important constitutional duties, the initiative says. The Second Amendment of the group of MPs is proposing covers giving the people the right to change the Constitution. This amendment can be made only if there are 94 votes in Parliament, but the MPs who have signed the initiative are asking that this change should be made with the approval of 65 MPs. The initiative says politicians are discussing the justice reform, but right now it is impossible for the people to be part of this process. The legal initiative for changing the Constitution needs 28 signatures from the MPs. The initiative has been signed by 10 MPs so far, ranging throughout the political parties: the Socialist Party, the Democratic Party, the Party for Justice, Integrity, and Unity, and the Demo-Christian Party. The first comment on the MPs' initiative was made by the Socialist Movement for Integration. The chairman of the SMI group supported the initiative in principle, but he believes it illegitimate at the conditions that limit the president's competences. The initiative of the MPs caused a reaction from the Party for Justice, Integrity, and Unity, with MP Masila Doda declaring that having the people elect the president is a proposal made by the PGIU earlier and that their initiative has been copied. The Socialist MP Mimosa Hafizi replied saying that their proposal is different from that of the PJIU. Democratic Party MP Bulubashi said 3 congressmen of the U.S. Foreign Policy Commission have sent a letter to Secretary John Kerry regarding the judicial reform in Albania. According to the statement of the Democratic Party, the U.S. congressman referring to the Venice Commission suggests adopting and implementing Recommendation 88 of the Venice Commission, considering it the basis of solution when parties are at an impasse. The Democrat MP said he hopes that the commitment of the U.S. Congress will serve as the impetus to solve the impasse which has been created over the judicial reform. We wish and hope that this commitment from the U.S. Congress will serve as an impetus for the majority to unblock the judicial reform, giving the solution proposed by the Venice Commission on Recommendation 88. We wish for Edi Rama to give up his attempt to control the judiciary system and to pave the way for consensus regarding the judicial reform. It is the only way to give citizens the judicial reform they want, a system that does not protect but punishes crime and corruption, says the DP's reaction. The Ad Hoc Commission on Justice Reform continued its work on the second phase of the reform, drafting the complete legal package that will accompany the constitutional changes. The Commission discussed the law in principle regarding the judicial authority's function and the law providing guarantees on the status of prosecutors and judges, ranging from financial treatment so that they can be immune to politics but also to criminal groups. After the meeting of the Commission, the Socialist MP Hafizi expressed optimistic that the reform will be adopted on time. We discussed the judiciary administration, the court's employees' statutes will be regulated. Judges of first instant courts will have the right to have a legal counselor, she said. The law on the organization and functioning of the judicial authority toughens the criteria for the appointment and for the transfer and promotion of judges. It also aims to enhance the performance of the judiciary administration employees. From the city of Durrës, the Prime Minister declared that the energy sector reform is revolutionary, giving its results through concrete investments for consumers, such as the new service to reduce lines for paying energy bills indoors. Compared to where we began as a result of everyone's contribution, I believe we have stopped losses in this sector and are on the path of investment, said the Prime Minister. The investments are bringing us closer to removing flat-rate bills so people can pay for what they actually consume, he continued. Meanwhile, the administrator of the operator for the distribution of energy explained the way the new system manages the queue for paying. The client gets a ticket when they arrive at our offices to pay their energy bill. The ticket has a queue number. The process will be monitored by cameras, he said. The new management service is being implemented in 14 customer care centers in the main cities of the country. That's all for our English edition this evening. Please join us again Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for your local news in English. My name is Marian. On behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.